A grotesque monster terrorizes the city, and yet Tian walks towards it, calling forth his powers to do battle with the creature. Tian wakes up sweating after the process of awakening his talent. 100 years prior, spatial rifts opened up over the earth and let out fierce beasts. At the same time, the energy from the rifts awakened talents dormant in some humans, allowing them to fight back in the new era of talents. His sister knocks on the door to check on him, and when Tian checks his awakening status, he sees he gained a weak tier talent. Unfortunately, a weak tier talent means that Tian won't be able to become a martial warrior, or have the power he craves so that he can protect his sister, who bursts through the door and asks him how the awakening went. Tian of course lies, and claims it went excellently and that he'll become a super powerful martial warrior. Tian's sister praises him and offers him his favorite dish as a celebration of his awakening. While his sister, Ye Yu, waits for him by the door, Tian suddenly sees a system message window with their race, name, talents, and talent tier ratings. Yet Tian reaches for the message window and sees it replaced with his own name before his sister grabs him and starts dragging him towards the kitchen. Upon contact with her, he sees her status window open again, but with a different option next to her skills, copyable. Sure enough, the message window asks Tian if he'd like to copy his sister's talents. Maybe his talent isn't as bad as he thought it was, and he can really gain the strength he wants after all. In the kitchen, Tian eats the food his sister made for him and decides he can't use her as a test subject for his talent. Sometime later, Tian heads out into the city to test out his talent. As he walks around, Tian finds his ability has a viewing range of about 3 meters. He considers how he might join an academy and get around his talent potentially changing if they require a talent evaluation when an idea comes to him. Linhai Base 5th Academy looms in front of him, a place with many awakeners with at least mid-tier talents. 10 days later, Tian undergoes training in the same academy for the body training technique. People pass out around him as they exhaust themselves, and he struggles to create an air vortex as part of the technique. The instructor dismisses the class, telling them they're the worst bunch he's ever taught as he mentions another student, Chen Dong, who they should take after. Tian asks a friend after class and finds that Chen Dong became a martial apprentice in only half a month and was even taken to be the principal's disciple. Chen Dong then appears to much fanfare as people praise him and rush for his autograph. As expected, Chen carries a mid-tier talent. With his target picked out, Tian persuades Chen Dong to shake hands and copies his talent. Later on, he ponders over a system message asking him if he wants to fuse the talent to his body. He hesitates for only a moment before accepting the fusion. Tian is suddenly racked with pain and endures it until the talent is fully fused. Luckily for him, he still has his original talent as well, which he discovers has a cooldown of 30 days before he can reuse it. When he tries the cultivation technique from earlier that day, he creates the air vortex on his first try. A month passes, and Tian becomes a martial apprentice during that time. It's still not enough for him, as he realizes that Chen Dong must be ahead of him from his private lessons with the principal. As he walks down the moonlit street and considers his future, a wolf-like monster attacks a nearby father and daughter and kills the father. Other bystanders begin to run when they see the monster, and Tian barely manages to save the little girl before the monster closes in on him. Unable to escape, he's saved by Captain Gale Wolf and his teammates, who battle the monster until it rages and tries to escape only to be sniped out of the air. The team celebrates the monster's defeat, while Tian looks at the monster's body and discovers he can see the dead monster's talents. Since he's already looking at the monster, Tian is the first to notice when it gets back up. Captain Gale Wolf notices in time to warn his team and stands to confront the monster. With Tian still standing nearby, Gale Wolf warns him that it isn't safe and to leave, but Tian only has one thing on his mind. He runs at the injured wolf before anyone else can kill it and brutally beats it to death with his bare hands while using his copy talent. Gale Wolf stops him as Tian continues to beat the monster's dead body and then directs the cleanup of the scene. Gale Wolf parts with well wishes for Tian and hopes that he sees him and his squad in the future. Tian washes the blood off of himself briefly and then heads home. He checks in on his sister, who's already asleep, and resolves again to become a martial warrior as soon as possible so that he can protect her. Since there's no telling how fusing a monster's talent into his human body will affect him, Tian prepares for the worst and fuses it anyway for the sake of protecting the people important to him. The talent fusing doesn't go smoothly at all. The pain is incomparably worse than when he fused the mid-tier cultivation talent, and his bones even twist and break under the fusion before he loses consciousness, with his last thoughts being of his sister. Fortunately, Tian's story doesn't end there. He wakes up the next morning feeling lighter than usual and sees that the novice tier speed talent was successfully fused from the monster. He tests his new swiftness later in a grove above the academy and continues to cultivate. With the speed talent, Tian is comparable to a martial warrior in quickness, but he lacks in power. Tian ponders how he can increase his cultivation speed when Zhang Bao approaches him with a friendly greeting. Zhang, sensing that Tian has gotten stronger, brings up how to become stronger even faster, by drinking monster blood. Zhang has a way for them to get their hands on monster blood. Specifically, the higher administrators have opened a new wild zone outside the city as an exam area for the 5 major academies. Of course, what would such an exam be without a fitting reward to help the students grow? With monster blood on offer, Tian expresses interest, and Zhang asks him to join his squad. Though Tian still considers him his friend, he refuses the squad invitation because he fears his special ability being exposed. It'll be even harder without a team, but he decides to go in the exam alone. A month later, Tian tries to sign up for the exam without an invitation. The professor in charge tries to rebuff him, but Tian argues that he's qualified to sign up due to his status as a martial apprentice. The professor begrudgingly hands him a life responsibility agreement that Tian must sign if he wants to take the exam and continues to try to dissuade him, but Tian still signs it in the end. Afterward, the professor stands alone in his office and reveals that the exam wasn't meant for common people like Tian. Back at home, Tian's little sister Ye Yu wakes up and looks for him only to find food prepared and a note from Tian saying he'll be back in 3 days. Tian enters the exam zone waiting area and finds tons of people from all the 5 major academies waiting as well. Someone from another academy sees them waiting and makes comments about scum from the garbage academy daring to take the exam. The man goes on to strongly imply that he looks forward to hunting weak people in the exam as well, and talk from bystanders reveals him to be Mo Xiaobei, a genius from the First Academy. Xiaobei isn't given the chance to insult the 5th Academy further when someone unsheaths their sword and enters the First Academy's camp, stopping to call him out to fight as part of some feud between the two. The challenger, Li Yunjing, is a genius swordsman from the 2nd Academy who was defeated by Xiaobei in the past. Tian awkwardly cheers him on, but before they can fight, it's announced that fighting outside of the exam zone is not allowed. Yunjing asks Tian for his name as he leaves and praises his guts for cheering him on, and Tian takes a look at his talents, eyeing his mid-tier sword talent. Tian boldly reaches out for a handshake and the two exchange well wishes as Tian copies the mid-tier sword talent. The exam starts and the First Academy is given first entry rights, with each academy after being granted entry until the 5th. The 5th Academy being granted entry last actually works in his favor, and Tian finds a secluded place and fuses the mid-tier sword talent with his body. Pain racks his body again, but it's a pain he's slowly becoming used to, and he comes out of the fusing even stronger than before. He's just in time for the 5th Academy to enter the zone. Points in the exam are counted based on the types of beasts you kill and how many you kill, and Tian shows he's capable of killing them with no problem. While exploring the zone for more monsters to hunt, Tian runs across his friend Zhang crying out for help as he battles a horde of fanged wolves. Despite his warning to run, Tian charges in with his speed and sword talents to annihilate all of the fanged wolves, leaving his friend in awe of his strength. After the wolves are killed, Zhang explains how his teammates were all heavily injured and gives up on the exam. He warns Tian of a pseudo beast in the form of a large snake before he heads back. Though Zhang is warning him so that he doesn't get hurt, Tian excitedly asks where it is when he hears it's worth 500 points. He heads in the direction his friend indicates and finds the area littered with defeated students from the First Academy, with a fiery battle raging not far off. Xiaobei and the other First Academy students are fighting the pseudo beast, depleting its stamina so that they can close in for the kill. Xiaobei launches himself towards the tiring beast's head and stabs his sword deep into its skull, hopefully finishing it off. The beast knocks him away and its death flails, but Xiaobei already begins to celebrate his victory. Proving that a pseudo-beast isn't so easily killed, the beast undergoes a sort of transformation. Rather than being a pseudo-beast, its abilities show it to be a full-fledged monster worth 1,000 points. They chase after the injured and retreating beast, but Tian uses his speed talent at maximum strength to boost ahead of them and confront the monster before they can. Tian finds the injured monster drinking a strange liquid and launches his attack. Even with his speed talent, he's surprised at the monster's reflexes. But with his sword and speed talents combined against the already injured monster, Tian is able to run his sword along its body and open it up. With the monster dead, Tian bottles the strange liquid dripping from a hanging stalactite, sure of its value as a treasure since the monster was after it. He takes the monster's eyes as kill-proof and drains some of the valuable blood from its heart before destroying the stalactite so that others can't get their hands on whatever the strange liquid is. Xiaobei and his group show up shortly after Tian leaves to find the monster dead and already mostly dismantled by Tian. He doesn't know who did it, but Xiaobei swears vengeance on whoever killed the monster that he and his team had been hunting. Tian watches from the nearby ruins as the group departs and overhears their conversation about searching for whoever killed the monster. While he's safe for the moment, everyone will eventually know who killed the monster when Tian turns in the parts he collected at the end of the exam in 3 days. With first place already in his hands and knowledge that the First Academy will be after him when they find out, he finds a safe spot to cultivate and improve his strength until the end of the exam. The blood tastes disgusting, but it shows its power when Tian realizes his cultivation strength is at least 4 times faster than before. 3 days pass, and Yunjing from the Second Academy ends up with 195 points, which impresses those watching until Xiaobei has his points calculated at 427. Everyone expects Xiaobei to be first place, but he already knows that first place will have at least 1,000 points, and expectantly waits for them to have their points tallied so that he can find who to take his vengeance on. The examiners are sure that everyone who survived would have left the zone, but Tian emerges just before first place is declared. Tian has his monster parts tallied and ends up with 1,163 points, taking first place in the exam and the reward of 3 bottles of monster blood and 100,000 yuan. His target finally revealed, Xiaobei has his minions run a background check and figure out everything they can about Tian. Though Tian took first place for himself in the 5th Academy, his professor realizes he offended the Xiaobei's Mo family and believes Tian might soon end up dead. The victors have their picture taken and argue on stage about the morality of Tian stealing Xiaobei's kill when Xiaobei already stole points from others. Since Mo is already out to get him, Tian outright challenges him to a duel. If someone like that is out for him anyway, wouldn't it be better to resolve it sooner than later? Tian returns home to find his sister with gifts and a book of treasures that he goes through to find the liquid he took from the stalactite, the Terra Core Elixir, which can improve his cultivation talents. Though it could be helpful for him, Tian already has an overpowered ability to steal others' talents and can just take a higher cultivation talent from someone else when he finds it. He tells his sister to drink the elixir herself instead. After all, one of the best ways for him to protect his family is to help her protect herself. We hope you enjoyed this story so far. Check out Your Talent is Mine to find out what happens next in Tian's journey to becoming a martial warrior.